In
Okay.
and
Yep. Looks like we're live. Yep.
is it? I can't see
Yeah.
that.
Well, we see it on our
On
end.
our end, Sam.
I was looking at it on Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. All right. So good evening.
Good
We
evening.
have another good evening. Thank you all for joining us. Colloquies with Michelle with Doctors Joseph Fowler and Doctors Brandon Williams. Dr. Brandon Williams. They are with Align for Life Wellness, and we are talking about the musculoskeletal system tonight. Doctors Williams and Dr. Fowler, how are you all doing today?
We are
I'm doing
doing
good.
well.
Doing
Happy
well.
Tuesday.
Yes, happy Tuesday. And happy Black History Month, day number 2.
Yes, yes, yes.
Happy, happy, happy. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for y'all being here
Black
today.
History Month. Doc, I think we can share a little Black History tidbit
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to chiropractic,
Okay.
particularly the very first chiropractic patient.
The very
Let's
first
tell the
patient.
good people about that.
Yes. Brother Harvey Lillard is his name. Uh,
Mhm.
Brother Lillard owned a janitorial service, or he did janitorial services back in 1895. And the founder of chiropractic owned the building that he was working in. Brother Lillard actually suffered with hearing loss in one of his ears. And
Mhm.
so this so happened one day they were in the hallway, as the story goes, in a hallway, one of the hallways in the building, and just joking around as sometimes we do. And evidently a good joke was told, and Palmer hit or tagged, or however you want to say it, Harvey Lillard on his neck or upper back area. It was the neck, and they thought nothing of it. Well, the next day, Harvey Lillard came back and said, "Hey, what did you do to me? I can now hear in this ear." And so that is the long and short of it. Doc, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so Harvey Lillard is known as the very first chiropractic patient. And he was cured of hearing loss in his left ear.
Mm-hmm.
And this was way back in 1895.
Yes.
So that is our Black History tidbit as it relates to chiropractic.
Our Black History moment.
There you go.
That's a wonderful Black History moment. Thank you for sharing that in so many ways.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
And that was unintentional.
Yeah. Hey, another one of those hidden figures that came out.
There you go. And his granddaughter, I believe it is, either granddaughter or great granddaughter, is alive.
Yes.
And has corroborated and has kept history on her great grandfather. So she's still telling that story today.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, he had a school named after him too,
absolutely.
as well.
Sure did.
There was a school named after him. Yeah.
I was gonna say because that name did sound familiar. I would have to research it, but it definitely sounds familiar. And I don't know just because I have a small background with the deaf community, or I'm not sure if that's the connection or what it is. It just sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you again for sharing Black History Day 2 in the month of February. But we always say Black History is not just in the month of February, but it's 365 days of the year, right?
Because we live and breathe, eat, run, walk more than just the 28, 29 days in February.
Right.
You're right about it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you all. So today we are talking about the musculoskeletal system. Can you all kind of just explain to us what that is for those that don't know?
So basically, I'll kind of make some introduction, and I'll let Dr. Fowler give the details. The musculoskeletal
Mhm.
system, in and of itself, is the very framework for our body.
Yes.
Any structure, whether it's the human body or whether it's a building, whatever it is, it has to have a foundational structure, something to hold it up to make it function.
That's right.
And for the human body, that structure is the musculoskeletal system.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll kind of let Dr. Fowler kind of expound on that that premise.
Right. And so this system is made up of bones, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, the muscles. You have fibrous tissue. And again, as Doc said, it's all one connection held together or connected together to hold us together.
Right.
You know, even something as simple as you having some gum in your mouth and you chewing, that is a part of the musculoskeletal system.
Thank you so much. Real good. Y'all heard I got distracted. I'm gonna try to okay. The thing about the musculoskeletal system and the muscles and joints that are connected, we all have those.
Yes.
So, and some of us, you know, we have a little bit more definition and we care for it a little bit different than others. There are also concerns when it comes to the health of our muscles, and some have atrophy. Can you kind of talk about what that is and how it impacts the not only the person, but how you all can help through some of those genetic type issues as well as trauma and injuries?
Absolutely. Well, let's kind of take it back a couple of steps. You know, so as we've been saying, iterating throughout this series, as chiropractors, we take care of the nervous system.
Yes.
Because the nervous system is the foundation for all other systems in the body, including the musculoskeletal system. So every single muscle fiber within that muscle, it's got a nerve coming off of it going back toward the central nervous system. You know, so the nervous system is the electrical conduit, if you will, for the muscles. You know, so basically what that means is that in order for that muscle to function, and in order for that muscle to survive and thrive, it needs that proper nerve function. If that nerve function is not proper, or if it's not functioning properly, that can lead to what you just mentioned, muscle atrophy, or basically weakening of that muscle. If that muscle is weakened or dysfunctioning, your body is not able to move and operate like it should. Again, as I said before, the musculoskeletal system is not just structural, it's also functional. It helps to hold us upright, right? But it also helps us to move. So, you know, without those muscles functioning like they should, our bodies in and of themselves are not able to function properly. You have many different types of muscles that have many different types of responsibilities. You have what are called smooth muscles, which help the organs to function, like your digestive system, or like you know, many other of the internal systems within the body. But you also have what we call striated muscle, which is the muscle that we think about when we're talking about the musculoskeletal system, the bulky muscles that we see from the exterior surface. So every type of muscle, whether it's smooth muscle or striated muscle, has a responsibility, again, not just structural, but also functional.
Right. And so just to keep going, like Doc said, many different kinds of muscles. So like the skeletal muscles, for example, those are voluntary muscles. So when you choose to lift your pocketbook, for example, Miss Simmons, you're using your skeletal muscles, you know. But then as Doc said, we have striated muscles, and some of those are involuntary, like our heart muscles. We can't control that. That is automatically done by God's work. And so we have, for example, this cell phone, right? It helps us to do a lot of things. One thing it helps us to do is be lazy as well. Technology is what I'm getting at. Technology helps us to be lazy. So we have a extreme situation going on in the world because a lot of people have a sedentary lifestyle. A sedentary lifestyle is adverse to muscles. I don't care what kind of muscle it is, because as humans, we were made to move. If we don't move, we die. Basically, for example, if the blood stops flowing through your body, you die. And so it all ties back to the nervous system. And again, it's about the overall health. Part of health is moving.
I think you touched on something, and it's a perfect segue. Just going back to what we're in right now in COVID. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of people are working from home. We're sitting in our seats. We're in front of the computer. We're not moving as much as we used to when we used to go to the job, and we walked around the building when we were, just moving, and we're not moving as much. And so that goes to show the importance of stretching, the importance of intentionally exercising our bodies.
Absolutely.
So, mhm. So that goes right into exercise. So say someone's exercising and you mentioned the striatic muscles, the
Mhm.
muscles that we normally see.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Some people, when they begin to exercise, take it easy and they walk their way in it, and others are more aggressive and they pursue it, and they begin exercising. They go hard.
Mhm.
Right.
What are your suggestions when it comes to building and starting to build your muscles in regards to that? And how should someone prepare? How should they eat to ensure that they're doing it in a healthy way to prevent injuries?
I'm glad you mentioned that because we live in a society now where we have a lot of different fitness programs. Like P90X was a big one. It's been a big one the last few years. You got things like Orange Theory, CrossFit, things of that nature, geared toward, what we would call maybe like the weekend warriors or those types of individuals. But, I always tell my patients, that's not something that you can just walk into. That's something that you have to prepare for. You can't have a sedentary lifestyle, for months or years, and then all of a sudden you order that P90X CD and you pop it into your player and think you're going to go hard for 2 hours the day that you get it. It doesn't work that way, simply because your body has not adapted to that. And those types of high intensity interval type training is something that can be very stressing to the bodies and the body structures and the musculoskeletal system. And if you have not prepared and primed your body for that, you're prone to injury. So we see a lot of that. We see a lot of muscle strains, muscle tears, uh, cartilaginous tears, especially when you're talking about the shoulders and the knees and the hips and things like that. So in order to prepare your body for that, you have to take baby steps. As my dad would always say, you have to crawl before you walk. That means that, you've got to prepare your body. Most of us cannot, get up off of our couches and go out and run a marathon. We got to incrementally prepare for that. So that means taking baby steps, so that means getting up, going for a walk around the block if you've been one of those more sedentary types. 1 week you may be walking, a block and back, and then you incrementally progress that to 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks over a period of time, versus saying, oh, I'm going to get off the couch and go run a marathon. And it's the same way with our muscles, because our muscles, as we talked about muscle atrophy, we also have to build our muscles so that they can take on the loads and responsibilities that we place on them. So it starts with, again, baby steps. Doc, you want to add to that?
Yeah. So, like Doc said, babe. So what we are talking about, without saying it, is building your endurance. All right. Again, we're talking about people working out. So you think about it. If you have not worked out in a long time or at all, and then all of a sudden you start going to the gym, you're not able to lift as much, run as far, and you're going to be a little sore after the first couple of workouts. But if you continue to go back to the gym day after day, week after week, you're able to lift more, run further, and the soreness goes away because you build your endurance up. Now, the endurance is not just the physical aspect, but again, we're talking about nutrition. You have to put the right stuff in you. When you are thirsty, when you are hungry, when your body is calling for nutrients, it's the cells that's calling for those nutrients. And so if you're not continually putting, we're talking about maintenance, continually putting the right food source in you, you cannot build your endurance up properly. Now, again, we're talking about the weekend warrior as it pertains to someone working out. But this is also true for the weekend warrior when we working in the yard. Right now, we are in the winter months, right? So everybody's in, not really going out in the yard unless you have something, a greenhouse or some plants or something in your house. But as soon as spring hit, a lot of people go out into their yard, start pulling weeds and digging and all this and that. And so some of those same injuries that Doc mentioned about somebody working out also occurs when you are working in the yard, doing yard work and all that. So you have to build yourself up to go into the spring and summer of the year working in your yard as well. And so again, if that is just something simple as walking, grab some cans of soup. Since we're in the winter, people have soup. Grab a couple of cans of soup and do a couple of curls or lifting. Work on tone. I mean, you have planks and all that. And so again, we could definitely, if you come into the office, talk about a specific plan for you, depending on, based on rather, your age, your health condition, and otherwise.
Yeah, and when we talk about some of the nutritional things you can do to help support the musculoskeletal system, healthy, lean meats, for the protein to help build muscle, healthy complex carbohydrates, things like oatmeal and different things like that, healthy oils, healthy fats, like fish, things of that nature that help to provide the necessary nutrients for the muscles, and help to provide that fuel, so that when you are working out, you have the proper fuel. And of course, hydration is important too. You have to hydrate the muscle so that they can function properly when we're putting this demand and physical load on them, so that you're not cramping, you're not having muscle spasms, you're not having premature muscle fatigue, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Dr. Fowler, you wanted to say something?
Well, no, I'm just going to say something that Doc said, hydration. That is extremely important, hydration. And we are 70 to 80% water. That's what we're made of, all right? So the body is always asking for water because we are eliminating water through sweat, urination, bowel movement. If you get a cut, not only do you see the red blood, but there's water included in that as well. And so when the body is always asking for the replenishment of water. And again, I'm not talking about Kool-Aid, tea, lemonade. I'm talking about straight water. No flavoring in the water, no coloring, just straight water.
Unless it's fruit, you can flavor the water with some lemon or some berries.
But see, that's natural. We're not talking about artificial flavoring and all that. That's what I'm talking about, artificial flavoring.
Right, there you go.
Now, the other thing too is we are under these artificial lights all the time. All right, we're not outside, and now that it's cold, a lot of us don't even want to go outside. The issue is, again, when we start talking about vitamin D, that is a natural hormone that is produced by the sun when it comes into contact with your skin for an extended period of time. And so some people can't go outside due to physical ailments or whatever. But however, my recommendation for our patients is that if you can't go outside, get by a window. Let the sun rays hit you somehow, some way, because that will help. That's one of the things, in addition to water, in addition to the nutrients, that will help you to maintain your musculoskeletal system.
Vitamin D.
Yeah.
I have a question. So would ingesting fruits and vegetables also contribute to water intake, or does it specifically have to be water? Because I thought herbal tea could replace that, even if it was without sugar, cane sugar, honey, or something like that. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, again, you're talking about natural. So that, that is natural. So if you're getting water from watermelon, natural, water from cantaloupe, natural, from strawberry, natural, the herbal tea, as long as it's natural, that's what we're talking about, the natural. We get into an issue when we start talking about all of this artificial sweeteners and artificial color. The fact that it says artificial should ring a bell that it really shouldn't be in our body anyway.
Right. But, just a point of clarification, when you're ingesting foods themselves, even as healthy as they may be, are not necessarily a replacement from actual H2O. You've got to get actual water. Because you will never get the amount, the daily amount of water that your body requires out of eating food or drinking tea. So, our general rule of thumb is, whatever your body weight is, you cut that number in half. And that is the amount in ounces that you should be getting in water intake daily. And sometimes, especially, if you're exerting and exercising, whether it be cardio, weightlifting, weight training, whatever it is, you may even require even more water intake, because as Doc was saying, you're expelling extra water through sweat, things of that nature too. So as that moisture or that water is being expelled from our bodies, we have to be replenishing that. So again, the general rule of thumb is whatever your body weight, you need half of that in ounces of daily water intake.
Let me ask you, so I've had a few injuries dealing with muscles, repetitive injuries, and just overusing my muscles, doing different things, lifting and like I said, repetitive use. How would someone know or to discern whether or not they should go to a chiropractor or to an orthopedic doctor? And could you explain the difference between the two?
Okay, so a chiropractor, we just to keep it real simple,
For those that
we heal the body by using non-surgical, non-medical techniques. That is our aim. Again, we have techniques, we do have other tools, whereas orthopedic docs, they use surgery, medicine, things of that nature to heal the body. So just a simple general statement about it. You want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Chiropractic is one of those, we're where you want to start. Okay. Especially if you're dealing with sprains, strains, tears, or just general dysfunction. Because remember, it's about the nervous system, when we're addressing all of the other ancillary systems in the body, that being including the musculoskeletal system. So that's where you want to start, because functionally, you want to make sure that things are functioning properly, right? I always tell my patients, and they see this firsthand as we're going through their care. I like to put it this way: I am prepping you for the orthopedist if it comes to that, because what I do makes what the orthopedist does more effective, and vice versa.
Right.
So if it's a more severe injury, like you've ruptured a tendon, or you've broken a bone, or you've dislocated a bone, that might be a situation to where we need the orthopedist to come in and co-manage a certain type of ailment or situation. But by and large, what we do as chiropractors, we're talking about joint mobility, proper joint function, proper joint alignment, but more so proper nerve and blood supply when it comes to the musculoskeletal system. So, as far as what Dr. Fowler and I do as chiropractors, that's always a good place to start. And once we do our evaluation, our assessment, we can tell you, hey, we need to get the orthopedist involved, or well, let's go through this treatment regimen and then reevaluate and see where we are.
Yeah, we definitely we work real close with several orthos in the area, and so it's not a conflict or anything like that. It is, as Doc said, we take it as far as we can take it. If we see that what we're doing is not getting you where you need to be due to any injury or whatever, then yeah, it's time to pass you on to the orthopedic.
So I've been to a chiropractor, Dr. Fowler, you know that, and you have treated my injuries using different modalities. What modalities do you all use to treat muscle pain, inflammation, strains, and things like that, to kind of give our viewers some insight into what that looks like?
So we have many different modalities that we use here in our office. And, you know, I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to our modalities, because I always like to tell people, and anyone that comes into our office can see firsthand, you know, we have some cutting edge toys, as I like to say, when it comes to modalities. But the main things that we're using, especially when it, you know, comes to the musculoskeletal system, is electrical muscle stimulation. Okay. So we're not shocking or zapping folks, and we're not frying meat.
Not frying. It's not fried fish fry Friday. No.
But what the EMS helps to do is it helps to activate the muscles, activate those nerves. So we want to stimulate the muscles. We want to stimulate the nerves, which is going to help reduce swelling, reduce pain, reduce inflammation, reduce muscle spasms and muscle restriction, help to restore that proper function. We also use therapeutic ultrasound. So when we're talking about sprains, strains, tears, and things like that, the therapeutic ultrasound helps to penetrate down into the deep muscle layers, even down to the cellular level. So that helps with healing from the inside out, especially when you're talking, like I said, sprains, strains, even, you know, injuries to cartilage, structures of the bodies that do not have a direct blood supply. That need that extra help when it comes to healing. Therapeutic ultrasound is one of those modalities that helps with that. We also have intersegmental traction. So when we're talking specifically about the musculoskeletal system, intersegmental traction helps with joint mobility to reduce joint restriction, joint stiffness, helps to kind of massage and knead those muscles. So, you know, it's great with stiffness, getting the joints moving. So it's something that we use before and after an adjustment when we're working with our patients. We also have infrared heat therapy, which is another modality that helps, especially with deep tissue healing. And the infrared does is it helps to penetrate the heat, again, down to the deep muscle layers. Because again, true natural healing is from the inside out, not from the outside in. So these types of modalities that we have here in our office really help to facilitate that inside out healing so that we can reach some of those deep tissue layers that are integral to overall health and function.
Another toy that we have too is a decompression table.
Yes, so spinal decompression, which is very key when it comes to proper function of the musculoskeletal system, but also decompressing those joints that may have become compressed and damaged due to trauma, slip and falls, car accidents, or just everyday wear and tear. You know, gravity over time just causes compression to the spinal joints, which can cause damage to the thin layer of cartilage between the bones. So what the spinal decompression therapy does is it helps to traction and open up those joint spaces so that we can alleviate any decompression off of the discs and irritation and compression off of the nerve structures around those joints, so that again we can restore proper nerve function, proper joint function, and mobility.
A lot of toys.
You made me think when you.
I was about to say.
You know, I've had the. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I've had the muscle stimulation, the ultrasound. The decompression sounds really good because, you know, sometimes you just want a good stretch, and it seems like that, like really,
it will give you a good stretch.
I think you're trying to get a little taller there, so I think.
But then also, when a person visits your office, you all do some actual manipulation in the, you know, you do manipulation anyway. You talk about spine manipulation and things like that, but also stretching. So you said that when we don't move our bodies, our muscles can atrophy, and it's really the beginning of the death process. Is that correct? Because rigor mortis basically sets in when we stop moving our bodies.
I always tell people it's very simple. A very simple adage that I use with my patients is, if you don't use it, you lose it. Our bodies are functional. right? And if we don't function properly, we don't move function,
Right.
then we morph into a phase of dysfunction.
Right.
So we have to move. We have to move. We have to keep our muscles moving. We have to move our bodies. We have to move our minds. Because if we don't, as we've been using the term atrophy, atrophy doesn't occur just with the muscles. Nerves can atrophy. Body tissues can atrophy. That includes organs, that includes brain matter.
Yep.
So we have to be utilizing these structures so that they don't wither away and die over time from non-use.
Right. See, and when it comes to the body, we've often heard the term, it's like riding a bike for whatever you're talking about, right? Once you learn how to ride, even if you haven't ridden for years, once you get back on it, it will come back to you. Well, when it comes to the body, if you let it go or persist to a certain point, it is not like riding a bike. It's like falling off a bike because it will not come back. A good example of that is the brain when it atrophies. Now you're talking about Alzheimer's, dementia, all of that. And again, a big play of that is, we talked about it earlier, is water. Not only the water, but we have to be doing things that will stimulate the nerves, stimulate those neurons, the nerve ending. Whether it be like my mother-in-law, she loves puzzles, word puzzles.
Yeah.
She loves coloring. Some people will look at someone who is what we call a senior, or maybe not so much a senior, and they're coloring and all that. It's like, well, why are you doing that? That's what a child does. But just keeping in the lines creates nerve endings and creates movement within your nervous system that will keep you from atrophying in that aspect.
It sounds like just adulting and becoming mature
Yeah.
causes us to lose some of the innate things that we just did as a child that actually brought life to us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because you think about it, as a child, we're developing all of these abilities. We're developing our all the systems of the body. We're kind of hitting these milestones, if you will, preparing us for adulthood, for that function of our bodies and our body systems. But again, as we grow into adults, and if we're not utilizing these systems properly, and we're not innovating and exercising these systems like we should, then they do begin to wither away and die. So that's why we have to be making sure that, when we're talking about the musculoskeletal system tonight, making sure that you're exercising. You got to keep those muscles moving. Can't be on the couch all day, even with COVID.
Yeah.
We got to keep moving, stretch, go outside. Obviously, we're many of us are still leery of leaving the house, but it doesn't mean that we can't, even in this cold weather, enjoy the outdoor spaces. So put on a few layers. Yeah. Put your hat on, put some gloves on, and get outside the house, take a few laps around the block, or whatever it might be. Obviously, we're cautious about moving around in indoor spaces, because of social distancing. But you've got all the space you want and need outdoors. So definitely take advantage of that and get moving.
Yeah, get out there and hug a tree.
There you go.
At least now, since it's cold, you got to worry about a bug getting on you.
Amen. That's wonderful. So there are, in my head, I'm thinking, there are people who have built their bodies, bodybuilders, and I'm not going to share, I don't know, I might share my screen, but there are, people who work out for a living. That's what they do. And what I found, just from a little experience I have in that arena, is that if we don't, and we kind of touched on this, if we don't continue to feed our bodies and continue to do those exercises, that our muscles will whittle away, and we refer to that as atrophy. In those situations, when people are exercising, sometimes people will work maybe their upper body. I have some friends that they just work from the waist up. And the legs, that everything from the waist down is just like, you know, it's regular, right?
Yeah.
So how, like, there needs to be a balance, right? Because if you just work one particular from the waist up, how does that impact the lower body and the rest in the structure and how a person moves and flows?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we're talking about working out, we tend to look at it just from an aesthetic standpoint, how we look, right? But that's just what's on the outer surface. It's about, again, what we talked about. It's about structure and function. So it's not just about how you look. Now, yeah, we're talking about, you want the big chest, you want the big arms, all these different things that people see. But, when we're talking about balance, when we're talking about coordination, when we're talking about proper function, the lower extremities are just as important as the upper. So, if you're working that upper body, you have to give due diligence to the lower body as well, because you want to create proper balance and coordination when it comes to the muscles. Because just think about it, if we're swole up here and we're a toothpick down there, you're actually putting more strain on the lower part of your body, and that the lower portion of your body is not able to adapt to that extra strain. And it can cause injury, it can cause tears, and it can cause dysfunction. It can cause pain.
Yeah.
So you have to, when we're talking about balance and coordination and stability, you have to do just as much for the lower body, and pay just as much to your lower body as you do the upper body. Again, not just because of just how it looks, but you want to be able to function properly.
Yeah. Again, how it looks. I mean, you think about it, Ms. Simmons. How do you think someone looks who only builds their upper body and their lower body? No. So I mean, and you don't have to answer that. That's just rhetorical. But you know what? Well, yeah, don't answer that. Please don't answer that.
I know, give me a
I'm trying to talk to you right now. But it puts me in the mind of a character on, I want to say it was Fat Albert. I can't not remember the name of that character right now, but he had the V, but it was the big body and those two pig legs and all that. And so, as I said, you when it's like that, when you just building one part, you are causing damage. If your top part is to the point where it's developed more than the bottom, for example, the knee joints, they can't handle that. So they start rubbing together, and you start messing up the meniscus that's in there, all the ligaments, the lateral, the medial, the collateral ligament, the ACL, which everybody hears about, all that kind of stuff. And so again, think about it like this too. If you're trying to lose your stomach and you only work your stomach, it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to lose that stomach, because nothing in your body exists alone. If there's something going on somewhere in your body, other parts of your body adapt to that. The question is it adapting properly? If you are overworking, in this example, the stomach, or the other parts of your body are not getting that work. And so the body, when it goes to, okay, I need to have energy to do this, that, and the other, it's not going to have the energy or the juice, let's just say the nerve energy, the blood flow to go into those other areas if you only work in that one part. And so that's why it is definitely important to, as you said earlier, have a balance and work the entire body. Have a leg day, have an upper body day, have a straight cardio day where you just work, again, because we're talking about a systemic system.
Right. And the chain is only as strong as the weakest link.
Right.
So just as Doc mentioned, nothing in the body exists alone. Well, no muscle in the body works alone. They all work in tandem. So if we were to get up and walk off of the screen right now, it takes a coordination of muscles in order to do that. But more importantly, it takes a coordination of nerves in order to send that commanding load to the muscles so that those muscles can act and function and move. So it's not just about one part. It's about the whole. It's about the totality.
Thank you. I remember having conversations with Dr. Fowler, and we just talked about just everyday living,
Mhm.
taking a step off of the curb. Just sometimes it's like, such your rib is out of place. Why is my rib out of place?
Mhm.
It could be, can you kind of just talk about, just the day-to-day things that we do that can literally throw us off, and how you just kind of delve into that, because it kind of threw me off because I'm like, well, hey, this and this happened, and such and such had the one hip up here and one down here, and they're functioning, thinking they're okay until they go to the chiropractor. It's like, oh, during your exam, this is what I see.
Yeah. So we have been conditioned in this society as a whole to just deal with different situations going on with our body. We have not been properly taught on how to be fully aware of when our bodies are calling and calling us, saying, "Hey, hey, hey!" They're sounding the alarm. They're sounding the alarm. So when you have something like a headache, for example, it could be that something is going on somewhere else in your body. Not necessarily that you're hungry, not necessarily saying something is going on with the meninges that's surrounding the brain, which actually causes the pain, because everything is in a chain. And so when you step off the curb, for example, or when you bend over to pick up a piece of paper and then all of a sudden, oh, my back hurt or my knee or whatever, it's not necessarily that that picking up the paper or stepping off the curb is the only thing that did it. That was just a straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, because you had potentially been dealing with micro trauma the entire time, and because we sedate ourselves with these drugs, or we just ignore it. As men, we like to be tough. I can remember playing football, and knowing what I know now, I know I've had several concussions and all that. But my coaches would be like, just shake it off, Fowler, shake it off and get back out. All that kind of stuff. And so we get conditioned young to take on pain and not even tell anybody, just deal with it. And this is not only physical but mental too, which has a lot to do with the PTSD and the depression and all that kind of stuff. And so we have to be more aware of our surroundings internally as well as externally. And
Yeah, absolutely. And I always use the example with my patients, when we talk about wear and tear, and where all of these conditions and dysfunctions come from. I liken it to a car, right? We put wear and tear on our cars every day, but if we do absolutely nothing to that car from a maintenance perspective, eventually it's going to break down, you know, at some point. We'll never know when that is. Chances are it's going to be when you're driving it, needing to get from point A to point B, and you're going to be stranded on the side of the road. But if you take that car into a mechanic, that mechanic is going to immediately be able to tell you what's wrong with that car, whether it's bad alignment in the wheels or oil change, brake pads, whatever it might be. That mechanic is going to be an expert, when it comes to our vehicles. But in order to properly maintain a vehicle, what do they tell you? Get your tires rotated every 5,000 miles, get your oil changed every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, so on and so forth. As human beings, we have to learn to be mechanics when it comes to our bodies. We have to learn to be able to recognize when something is off. Okay. I always tell my patients, nobody knows your body better than you. Okay. So we have to train and be knowledgeable of the signs and symptoms to look out for. And we have to know and understand that when we wake up and get out of bed every day, we're putting wear and tear on our bodies. And at some point, our bodies need a maintenance check, no different than our vehicles. One of those maintenance checks is chiropractic. Making sure that those joints, like I said, we're talking about the musculoskeletal system, but in particular, you want to make sure those bones and joints are in proper alignment, because if they are not, yes, as Dr. Fowler, has alluded to, yes, they will function, but the question is, will they function properly? And this is not just about function. This is about proper function. It's not just about performance. It's about optimal performance. We, as human beings, we want and need the best 100% optimal performance and function from our bodies. Because if we can get 100% performance, that's going to help to prevent injuries. That's going to help to prevent dysfunction and disease. So in order to get that proper function, we have to properly maintain our bodies, but more importantly, be able to recognize the signs and symptoms that tell us, okay, you need to go get checked out, whether it be from your chiropractor, whether it be from your primary care provider, things of that nature.
Yeah, that's good. No one should know our bodies better than we do.
Right. And
I remember,
that's true.
Go ahead, Doc.
No, I was just gonna say that's
I remember, I remember not too long ago just being, sick over time. And it had been so long, like a couple of years, that when I started feeling better, I felt it was like a rush of energy that I didn't realize just how bad my physical state was. But then to get to the point where it's like, wow, because I was functioning like that for so long. And we mentioned before that, but you can function so long in dysfunction. You can function so long in uncomfortable situations, not just in our body, but in our own spaces where we live and breathe and have our being, basically. And we can get accustomed to that and not even understand what the freedom and what wholeness and what wellness in our body looks like, what wellness looks like as we live our lives. Because there's so much
yes,
that's in front of us that go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's just so much that we miss out on because we become accustomed to living in discomfort and disease.
And you
healing is right in our before us.
Right. And you mentioned wellness, and that is again, that is key. Some of us do not even know what it feels like to live well, because we are drugged before we even get here, because of what is being put into mom before we are born, what's being put into us as soon as we are born. So there are a number of us in this society that do not even know what it feels like to feel that burst of energy that you just spoke about, unless it's induced by some drugs or something like that. We don't even know what it feels like to have God's energy naturally come out of them. And so again, wellness is the act of choosing to live a healthy and fulfilling life. But we have to go past wellness and go into maintenance, and you have to continue. It's no different from the car. Even though when you get through paying for that car, when that car note is done, you are not through paying for that car. Because if you want that car to keep rolling, you better take it to the shop to have maintenance done.
That's good. You talked about the emotional piece. So when we are emotionally imbalanced, got things going on, it causes tension, stress. We talked about stress in an earlier segment, and it causes tension in our bodies. And I know sometimes for me, being in the chiropractor's office, I'm like, oh Lord, I don't want him to touch my body because I know that I have tension generally in my shoulders. And how does that affect our muscles, and what can you do as a chiropractor to help someone that's tense like that?
Well, you can just, when you think about, when you think about just the physiological effects of the chiropractic adjustment itself, the adjustment itself releases dopamine, which is one of the pleasure hormones. So that the adjustment alone helps to ease tension. But there's many things that we can do even prior to the adjustment to address that tension. And of course, we want to identify the source of that tension. Is it a physical stress, or is it a mental or emotional stress? So if we're talking a mental or emotional stress, then we want to be able to put you in a state of mind prior to that adjustment, so that you can get the most benefit out of it. But even in some cases, the adjustment itself is going to be the remedy for that tension, whether it be mental or physical. So again, just to answer your question, I think that the best answer is just the fact that the adjustment in and of itself helps to directly address attention when it comes to the muscles, or the physical body, or even the mental aspect of the body.
Someone may not understand what you meant when you said physical tension.
Okay,
Can you
let,
expound on that?
let me break it down. Let me break it down. So when we're talking physical, we mean the actual structure, whether it be the muscles, the organs, the actual systems within the body. So when I say physical, I mean the actual systems, us, our human bodies. But when I say psychological or mental, then we're talking about, of course, the mind, or the mental state, because I've mentioned in the past the 3 P's, which are the physical, which I just explained, just the actual physical body, the physical being, the psychological, which is the mental, but then the physiological are the inner workings, the organs and the organ systems, and how they work together, whether it be the cardiovascular system, or the respiratory system, or the digestive system, or the musculoskeletal system. So when we're talking, mental health or physical health, they all work together because one can directly affect the other.
Thank you. Doctors, we're winding up towards the end of our segment. Do you all have anything else you would like to add to this? I want to this before we get ready to close it out.
Yes. So first of all, I want to say thank you, Ms. Simmons, for allowing us to come into your platform. I know this is the last of this 6-part series. And again, allowing us to come on to your platform and help the people in general just understand about their bodies, help people understand what we do as chiropractors. And even though this is the last in this series, I know this is not the last that we will, at least we hope it's not the last that we will be on your show for sure. What I want to say also is we do not need to be like, I remember the character's name, the Brown Hornet. We cannot be, we cannot, there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance. So when I say balance, I'm not only talking about working the flexor muscles, because see, a lot of people, when they go into the gym, they work the muscles they see, the flexors. Then you got the muscles in the back, the extensors, that do not they don't work. And then all of a sudden you get people that roll over and all this kind of stuff. You think you bad, right. But if you put them in the right position, they weak as, and so it's not only balancing the physical, but it's also about balancing what you eat, about balancing the social aspect, the mental and all that. It's about balance. And so again, I just want to say thank you. We are aligned for life. And again, Doc, you want to say anything?
Yeah, absolutely. As Doc said, we are aligned for life. And we chose that name for a reason. And it is what it states. We are aligned for life. But again, Ms. Simmons, we want to thank you for allowing us to utilize our platform to reach our people, because when it comes to chiropractic and what we do, I mentioned in an earlier segment, we have found that it's usually one of 2 scenarios. One, people have a misunderstanding of chiropractic and what it truly does for the body and for our overall health and wellness. Or people just have absolutely no idea what chiropractic is. So, you know, we want to, and we've made it our mission to educate as much as we possibly can, to give people that knowledge, because knowledge is power. And as we know better, we do better. So we encourage, you know, anyone that is in the Atlanta area and beyond, we're here for you. We're here to educate. We're here to help you with, you know, your issues, whatever those issues might be. Come see us. We will do whatever we can for you. And if we're unable, then we will help you to find that entity that is able. And it may be a situation where we co-manage in order to get you back to where you need to be. But again, as we always have spoken and preached about in the series, you know, it's about the 4 P's. It's about proper chiropractic, first and foremost, proper rest, proper nutrition, and proper exercise. So when we talk about any of these segments that we've discussed over the last few months, those 4 P's apply. So again, we are Align for Life. You can find us online at www.yourfinespine.com.
Spell that for them, Doc.
Yes, it's yourfinespine.com. You can also find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Align, ALIGNED, the number 4, LIFE.
Right.
And you can also call us, 404-383-1110. So again, we have been delighted to be a part of this series over the last few months.
Yes.
We look forward to the next series. And again, we thank you, Ms. Simmons, for allowing us to participate with you on your platform.
And as we always say, if you want to be fine, take care of your spine. We got you.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Dr. Williams and Dr. Fowler and Align for Life, for being here and for sharing your knowledge and resources with us today. And prior to that, this has been very informative, and prayerfully it has touched someone and will provide a source of encouragement and even lead them towards the wellness that they seek.
Yes.
You all have a great night. Like and subscribe and check out our other videos, and check us out coming soon to see what else we have on the table. Thank you for tuning into Colloquies with Michelle. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.